Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, hope everybody is doing well today. We are going to have a power packed show. When I say power packed show, I literally mean a power packed show. So I'm encouraging you all to contact your family, contact your friends, contact your neighbors, contact anyone and everyone because TV Courtroom is about to begin. We have three topics that we're going to be dealing with primarily today. The first is I'm going to give you an update about a recent article that I wrote in the Philadelphia Tribune. It's entitled, Trump's Economic Policies Will Make White Billionaires Richer and Black, as well as other workers poorer. And thanks to our producer extraordinaire, Roland, you see, all you got to do is go to phillytrib.com, type in CORD, C-O-A-R-D, and look for my article entitled, Trump's Economic Policies Will Make White Billionaires Richer and Black, as well as other workers poorer. More about that later in the show. It's interesting that I'm talking about billionaires in that first topic because that takes me to my second topic, which is entitled No Arena. And anybody who knows anything about Philadelphia the past several months, couple years, they know that the 76ers and other billionaire owners are trying to force their way into a community of color. It's like a domino effect. We in the Black community have seen it hundreds, thousands, millions of times through gentrification and many other peoples of color. Next, I would say brown people and now yellow people, but it all begins in America with red people. This was their land. This is their land. And Europeans came up and the rest, as they say, is history. But in terms of more recent history, we're talking about what billionaires do to communities of color. That's why it's so important for me as a Black man to rally around the yellow community, rally around the Asian community, because we need to fight for them tomorrow. We need to fight for them today because we're going to need them to fight with us tomorrow. It's all about oppressed people. It's all about people of color fighting one common enemy. And that common enemy is white supremacy. So first topic of the day, as I mentioned, white billionaires getting amazing breaks from the new Trump administration. And for TV Courtroom, I'm saying Trump because many of you might not be familiar with the other term I use on my radio courtroom show. Remember, this is TV Courtroom. I also do a show on WURD 96.1 FM called Radio Courtroom. And since Trump came to power, thank you, Roland, since Trump came to power, I don't give him the respect of calling him Trump. By the way, his family name is not Trump. It's a Germanic name. And that Germanic name is Drumpf, D-R-U-M-P-F. But I don't even call him that. I call him Dump, D-U-M-P. So anytime you hear me say Dump, you know I'm talking about the fake president of the United States of America. So remember, first topic about Dump supporting the billionaires at the expense of the working class. Second topic, billionaires supporting the 76ers to take over a community of color. And then the third and final topic is Mumia Abu Jamal. In 3 days, on Monday, December 9th, there's going to be a powerful event right here in Philly called 43 Years Fighting for Mumia's Freedom. And a young brother by the name of Gabriel Bryant, I know him better as Gabriel Prosser. We'll talk more about Gabriel Prosser later, but he's going to be on the show today. So we got a whole bunch that we're going to squeeze in. So keep your dials locked. But more important than keeping your dial locked, contact your friends and your family and coworkers and let them know that Philly Cam is on. It's always on. Let them know that the TV Courtroom show of Philly Cam is on and that they can check it out at Philly Cam. Simply go to phillycam.org/watch. That's phillycam.org/watch. Or check us out on Xfinity. In Philadelphia, it's channel 66 and channel 966. Check us out on Fios. In Philadelphia, it's channels 29 and 30. And check this out. You can also hear us on the radio at WPPM 106.5 FM. In fact, we can reach about 350 local households in the Philadelphia area. 350,000. 350,000. And you, I hope, are one of those 350,000 households getting this powerful information. We do have our first guest coming up shortly. So before we get to that first guest, let me squeeze in for about 5 to 7 minutes the information from my article in the Philadelphia Tribune. It's entitled, once again, Trump's Economic Policies Will Make White Billionaires Richer and Black, as well as other workers, poorer. You can get that article for free. Just go to phillytrib.com. That's phillytrib.com. Type in CORD, COARD, and the article will come up. And it starts like this. I talk about who this man is, dumb. And I say, there are two reasons for us to resist and oppose him in regard to what he is at his core. He's a whole bunch of things, but at his core, I say that the first reason is Donald Trump is a racist. The second reason is Donald Trump is a classist. And when I say racist, let me tell you how I break it down in its most simplistic terms. If you can see over my right shoulder, a poster of Malcolm X. And Malcolm was arguably the wisest man in African American history, among others, I must admit. And he said something that is so profound. He said, hey, when folks who are quote unquote experts in their field, it could be lawyers, could be doctors, could be political scientists, could be MBAs, whatever they are in that field, that information they have means nothing unless they can communicate it effectively to the audience. In Malcolm's words, well, I should say it over my right shoulder, in Malcolm's words, quote, make it plain, unquote. Think about that. Make it plain. So you got all this highfalutin, convoluted, esoteric education, and that's good to have in your head. But if you're going to relay that information effectively, you have to, as Malcolm put it, quote, make it plain. So let me make it plain. When I say racism, I wrote down what I meant. I say a racist is a white person who actively promotes a system that discriminates against people based on ethnicity. I mean, technically, when we talk about race, that's a social construct. It does not exist. There's no such thing as a race, as a biological thing. It's something that certain people made up in order to keep other people down. But in terms of societal explanations, clearly a racist is a white person who actively promotes a system that discriminates against people based on ethnicity. You notice I said a white person. Why? Because a black person can't be a racist. A black person can be prejudiced. A black person can be bigoted. A black person can be discriminatory, but a black person can't be racist. Why? Because of what I just said. Racism is a system, and black people don't control the system that is America. I also say that Trump is, and I'm going to try to avoid saying his name to the extent that I can, Dump is also a classist. What is a classist? As I explained here, a classist is a wealthy person who actively promotes a system that exploits people based on lower income. Now, I don't have enough time today to talk to you about the evils of capitalism and the benefits of socialism, but I can just make it as concise as necessary. Remember, as Brother Malcolm said, make it plain. Capitalism is the maximization of profits. Capitalism is the selfish maximization of profits. So if I'm a CEO of the ABC company and I make $1 million in 2024, then I got to make $2 million in 2025. Because remember, it's about maximizing profits, and it's got to be done selfishly. So again, capitalism is the maximization of profits. And how do you maximize profits? You exploit the workers. In fact, a great scholar pointed out that slavery is the highest form of capitalism. And if you think about it, that's so true. Slavery is the highest form of capitalism. The selfish maximization of profits while exploiting the worker. That's slavery. That's capitalism. What's socialism? Socialism is sharing the wealth. Simple as that. Socialism is feeding the hungry. Socialism is clothing the naked. Socialism is housing the homeless. Socialism is wishing for others the societal benefits you have for yourself. So we all should eat. We all should live in a nice place. We all should have medical care. That's what socialism is. So when I talk about Dump's economic policies, he's not only a racist, but he's also a classist. I got much more I want to share with you all about that article, but we got to get to a couple guests. So before I get to that guest in about 30 seconds, I want to remind you all, get this article that I wrote in the Philadelphia Tribune. The article is entitled, Trump's Economic Policies Will Make White Billionaires Richer and Black, as well as other workers, poorer. It's in the Philadelphia Tribune. It's dated December 2nd. Just go to phillytrib.com, type in CORD, type in Trump's economic policies. The article will come up. Remember, I said I had 3 topics I wanted to deal with today. One, about Trump's economic policies benefiting the billionaires and exploiting the working class. And speaking of billionaires, I'm going to talk to you, or correction, a guest is going to talk to you later in the show about the billionaires exploiting the yellow community as it has already exploited the Black community and the brown community and the red community. That's why I'm encouraging people to say not just no, but hell no to the arena. We'll get to that later. But right now we want to talk about Mumia Abu Jamal. And our guest, I love having this young brother on because he is allowing me to retire gracefully. I'm tired of constantly demonstrating and protesting and fighting. I want to be able to pass the baton to a serious warrior, a serious progressive, a serious revolutionary. And that is in the person of the young man who many people know as Gabriel Bryant, but I call him Gabriel Prosser. If you know anything about revolution and rebellion and resisting in America during slavery, and you know all about Gabriel Prosser, AKA in this case, Gabriel Bryant. Gabe, how are you today?
I'm well. Always good seeing you, Brother Mike, and I need that hoodie.
Oh, I know you do. You know what? Yesterday I said I was going to put it on for the show before I even thought about you. And then I put it on, I said, Gabe is going to ask me about this hoodie. Hoodie personifies what hip hop is to me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What is hip hop here? Look at my hoodie. I mean, let me spend 10 seconds venting. Talking about Public Enemy, Gil Scott-Heron, the last post, Bahamadia, and J Electronica, and Pharoah Monch. Man, in fact, the hoodie was supposed to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 names, but I told him you got to add a 6th name.
You got to add 6 names.
A 6th name. And now I'm going to see if they can put it on the front, the back, the sleeves, everything.
That is fire.
Gabe, before we get to the topic, in 30 seconds, what does hip hop mean to you?
Hip hop means the ability for Black and brown folks specifically, but the world and humanity as a whole, to speak truth to power when it comes to what's going on in their world, in their neighborhoods, and in their lives, but also to do it in the spirit of having fun. And so it's the 4 elements plus the knowledge. That's hip hop to me.
I know people think that was scripted, but you were really freestyling right there. I was literally off the dome. I threw you a curveball and you hit it out the park because we were already talking about that. But having said that, for the next 10 minutes or so, what's happening with Mumia and what's happening Monday with Mumia? Assume folks have been in a cave for the last 35, 40, 45 years. They know nothing about Mumia. What's the big deal, especially after 43 years? Enlightenment.
Yes, sir. So Mumia Abu Jamal, longtime Philadelphian, native son of Philadelphia, from North Philadelphia to be exact. Somebody who was a Black Panther Party member at the age of 15 in high school when he was over at Ben Franklin High School. Somebody who was is a award-winning journalist who wrote for the Philadelphia Magazine. Someone who covered the MOVE organization at its height, speaking truth to power when it came to police brutality, by way of Rizzo, by way of looking at environmental justice. Mumia Abu-Jamal is somebody who's meant so much to not only this city, but really the world over. He's championed a host of issues, speaking truth to power around the crisis of the world, genocides. He's written over a dozen books from behind the walls. And he's somebody also who has thousands of commentaries that you can hear right now on www.prisonradio.org as he speaks to everything from political prisoners to injustice to, BLM, Black Lives Matter, you name it, he's covered it, and he's covered it in a real way. And so we're coming up on December 9th, 1981 was when he was first tragically framed for a murder.
And I love the fact that you said framed, because I, as an attorney, I represent a lot of people, and the best that I can argue for most of my clients is that they're legally not guilty. In other words, the state can't prove it. But in Mumia's case, it's not just a matter of being legally not guilty. He's also factually innocent.
That's right.
From there.
That's right. And there's so much evidence that's come out over the course of the past 43 years, Brother Michael, as you know, and people who have supported from around the world, people that your audience knows and loves. I'm talking about your Maya Angelou's, your Danny Glovers, your Angela Davises, people who aren't even quote unquote, so super left of center, have still said, wait a minute, according to this information, according to the data, according to the research, he should be released from prison.
Wow. I love the way you break it down. So now bring us up to the present. Why do we care today, and what's being done to fight for Mumia?
Definitely. So as
young people never heard of Mumia, they wonder why you, a young guy in hip hop, why you even care about Mumia. What are you saying to a 20-year-old?
Sure. Yeah, what I'm saying to a 20-year-old, 18-year-old, I don't care if you're 23rd and Diamond, if you're at, Broad in Wyoming, if you're down 18th and Tasker, he's somebody who is fighting for you. He understands what it means. If you have somebody that's ever been locked up, he probably has talked to Mumia as a mentor from behind the walls, whether it was SCI Green, SCI Fragville, Mahanoy. He's been there.
Let me quickly interject. I got some quote unquote thug clients who are enlightened by Mumia.
Yes.
To give them the knowledge. They weren't feeling me. I get letters from them now saying they talk to Mumia.
Yep. I had a guy come home, man. I mean, I'm talking about a guy, full tatted face up and everything, young boy. He said, "Yo, man, I seen Moo on the inside. Moo talk to me every day. I mean, this is just the reality of who he was and who he is. But the reality,
why do you think they respect him? He's not a gangster. Why do they respect him?
I think because he sees them as the brothers and that they are. He doesn't see them as monsters. He doesn't see them as threats. He doesn't see them as the societal villains that are, don't have a chance to change whatever mistakes or errors they made. He sees their humanity, and he sees their humanity first and foremost. When I've gone to visit,
they see him seeing that.
When I've gone to visit Mumia, Brother Mike, literally we could be talking and having an exchange. And every 2 to 3 minutes, somebody's stopping us saying, "Yo, what's up, Mo? What's going on, Mo? What's up, Mo?" Like the whole time I'm there.
I didn't know it was like that. I'm glad to hear that, but I didn't know it was like that. Tell us more.
Yes, sir. So he's somebody who is, again, also to your point, had just turned 70 years of age this past April the 24th. And so we always have two events every year outside of the organizing, the petition writing, the going to the courts, the galvanizing and trying to raise awareness. April 24th is his birthday. December 9th is when everything went down back in 1981. And so we always hold a series of events on those 2 days. And so for this weekend, December 7th, which is tomorrow, we'll be holding an event. It's a teach-in. And it's really inspired, Brother Mike, to your point about 20-year-olds, for people who are new to the movement, young to the movement. Now, if you're seasoned in the movement, come on through too. But really, it's a teaching to learn more about what does it mean to be a political prisoner. Who are the Move 9 who we also brought home? Who are the Veronza Bowers of the world? And who is this person, Leonard Peltier, who I saw on the news trying to be taken home by, I believe the gentleman's name is Senator Bryant, Shack, I believe his name is, calling for Leonard Peltier's release after 50 years in prison. What does it mean to be a political prisoner? What does it mean to want to dismantle the prison industrial complex. What is the prison industrial complex? And so we're going to have a great panelist featuring people from the Philadelphia Community Bail Fund. We have somebody who organizes with some of the local folks trying to get women services on the inside. And we also have, which is very important, Brother Mike, we have Janine Africa, who you know and we all know came home in 2019 after 41 years of incarceration. Somebody who went in as a 20-year-old or so, came out in their mid-60s after decades of unlawful imprisonment. And so it's going to be phenomenal.
And still fighting, still resisting.
Still resistant. Came out fighting.
I love it.
So the teaching is Saturday, 1 to 3 p.m. Will be right there at the Center for Business and Industry at CCP's campus from 1 to 3 p.m. Doors.
Please repeat that time and location.
Yes, sir. Doors open at 12:30 p.m. We're going to start on time at 1 o'clock and we're going until 3 p.m. And we're going to be at 17th and Callow Hill at the CBI building, which is the Center for Business and Industry.
Excellent. Tell us more. What else is going to... So that's Saturday? That's
Saturday. That's December 7th. That's Saturday. Monday morning, and many of your viewers may have been hearing recently about the just tragic and traumatic situation about Delisha Africa, 12 years old, about the move remains, and how once again Penn is showing their hand about how they've had these remains of this 12-year-old girl who was blown to bits back in 1985. And so Mike Africa Jr. is holding a press conference in the mayor's room at 9 a.m. first thing in City Hall, on the fourth floor of City Hall, 9 a.m. in the mayor's room to talk about what this means for the movement. And they have basically just a couple of calls, Brother Mike. They're saying arrest the two individuals who have been involved in this, which is Janet Monge and Alan Mann. Arrest them. But more importantly, they're saying free Mumia Abu-Jamal, because he was the only journalist during the 70s and 80s who covered them with grace, with love, and with holistic care. And they're also saying, in the sense of reparations, give us back the land by way of 6221 Osage Avenue. Give us back our Osage Avenue home so that we can repurpose it towards our use, which they intend to use as an archive for the move history, which to me, by the way, would be tremendous, because to me, that's like an archive, a museum that needs to live in Philadelphia to tell the story.
I love it. Powerful stuff. So if folks want more information, is there a phone number, website, QR code, social media? How do they get more info?
Yes, it's for website. You can go to mobilization, the word mobilization, 4, mumia.com. And you can get all the info there. You can also go to my Instagram page, which is Good Brother Gabe. On Instagram, that's a Good Brother Gabe. That's a brother with an ER, not an A. I have to say this sometimes. But Good Brother Gabe on Instagram. You can find all of my information there as well. And then, man, you can also just call me, man, if you want. I don't mind sharing my number.
Let me tell you, this is what I love about you, and you are much more of a people's revolutionary than I am. I guard my number, man, like it's Fort Knox. You give it out on my radio show, on the TV show. You are man of the people. What's that number?
215-687-3754.
Once again.
215-687-3754.
Great stuff.
To get more information. And lastly, just to kind of...
I was about to say, we got about 2 minutes left. So whatever you want to put together in 2 minutes.
Yes, sir. And just to close out December the 9th, which is Monday, you can also... There's also going to be a rally at 2 p.m. at the Octavius Cato statue at City Hall. 2 p.m. So 9 a.m. is the press conference. 2 p.m. is the rally. So we're going to have a host of speakers. We got some vans coming in from New York City. We got some cars coming in from Jersey, from Delaware, from the DMV area. And of course, our own Philadelphia folks will be there as well. And again, the whole role for that is to speak truth to power, about to say, release Mumia, release him now. Make sure that we're going to give out a lot of information and literature to everybody passing through the neighborhood, passing through City Hall, downtown Center City. And we're going to do what we always do.
Before we wrap it up, give us those dates again, those times again, and those locations again.
No problem. It's once again is Saturday, December 7th. Will be doors opening at 12:30 p.m. at 17th and Callow Hill at the Center for Business and Industry. Just once you go there, you'll be able to see what's going on. It's going to be a teaching from 1 to 3 p.m. It's going to be a phenomenal teaching, panel discussion, and film screening. We're going to have some food too, so you be fed. All right. Then Monday morning, December 9th, my brother Mike Africa Jr. will be holding a press conference covering the move remains of our dear 12-year-old Delicia Africa and what they're calling for and making demands to the city of Philadelphia at City Hall at the mayor's room on the 4th floor at 9 a.m. Please be there to support Mike Africa Jr. and the Move family. And then also at 2 p.m. same day, we'll be rallying at the Octavius Cato statue.
This is so important. As we wrap this up in the next 10 seconds, give us that website once again.
Yes, sir. Please go to mobilization, the number 4, Mumia.com. If you're on Instagram, you can go to Good Brother Gabe, which is myself, or you can also go to Bring Mumia Home as well. Bring Mumia Home also is a good IG page to go to for all the information.
In our final 30 seconds, this is the TV courtroom show, and like in many courtroom proceedings, it's a closing argument. So I'll give you a 30-second closing argument. Anything you want to add, highlight, repeat, final 30 seconds are yours.
In the last 6 to 7 years, there have been several political prisoners who have come home from decades of incarceration. We've seen people who have come home like Sekou Odinga, people like the Move 9, people like Matul Shakur, may he rest in power, people like Russell Maroon Schultz, may he rest in power, people like Veronza Bowers, who just released after 50 years. People have been called on to be released, these people who have served decades and decades of time. These are our warriors, our generals, our soldiers in the struggle for liberation. It's time now to do the justice to them, which is to bring them home to live out their lives in dignity and integrity with their family and loved ones.
I know people think that you and I scripted all this. I gave you 30 seconds. You got it in 28 seconds. Closing argument. Very well done, young man, and keep up the great work. When I call you Gabriel Prosser, I mean it. Those who don't know who Gabriel Prosser is, just Google Gabriel Prosser, and you'll know why I'm so impressed with this young man. Plus, he makes it easy for me to retire. I can just pass the baton to him and let him take over because I'm tired now. I'm tired. But keep up the good work, man. I really appreciate what you do.
Hey, Mike, XL. All need is size XL, brother. Size XL.
I knew you were going to squeeze that in. I knew that. Well done, and I will get it to you.
Take care.
From Gabriel Bryant, who's doing great work in the community, fighting not only for Mumia, but for all, I repeat, all political prisoners and all of those who were justly and still are in the belly of the beast. As I said, we have 3 topics today. One was just that, what Gabriel Bryant talked about. And for more information, go to mobilizationformumia.com. A number of events taking place around Mumia Abu-Jamal. The biggest one, I would argue, is the one taking place on Monday, December 9 at 2 p.m. outside the Octavius Cato statue on the south side of Broad Street near Broad and Market. For more information, go to mobilizationformumia.com. That's one of the topics. The other topic dealt with Trump's economic policies and how it benefits the rich and hurts the poor. I'm going to talk for a few minutes about that. And in about 10 minutes or so, we're going to talk to another guest about No Arena. So it's a perfect segue going to Trump and his billionaire cronies and local billionaires trying to exploit a community of color. We'll get to that in about 10 minutes or so. Right now, let me get back to my article in the Philadelphia Tribune. And I'm going to try to include as much as I can without flying through everything and you not understanding anything. Remember what I said before about Brother Malcolm right over my right shoulder, where Brother Malcolm talked about making it plain. So I got this article from the Tribune dated December 12th, but I'm not going to read it all right now. We don't have time. So I want to highlight the important parts of it and make it plain in the process. Article is entitled, Trump's Economic Policies Will Make White Billionaires Richer and Black, as well as other workers poorer. And I point out that Donald Trump has many evils, but top 2 for me is 1, he's a racist, and 2, he's a classist. I explain what a racist is. I explain what a classist is. Racist, white person, taking advantage of people of color, a classist, a wealthy person taking advantage of poor people. And in the article, I highlight 5 among literally hundreds of examples proving that Trump is a racist. Number 1, this man impressed the KKK, the Nazis, and the Proud Boys so much, not just them, the FOP as well. He impressed the KKK, the Nazis, the Proud Boys, and the FOP, Fraternal Order of Police, so much that they endorsed him and his policies in 2016, in 2020, and in 2024. That's one thing proving he's a racist. Anybody who's endorsed by the KKK, I mean, think about that. Number 2, he sent pro-slavery, Confederate flag waving insurrectionists to overthrow democracy in America on January 6, 2021, where they just ran amok in the US Capitol after breaking into it. And by the way, many people don't know this, side note, US Capitol was built by enslaved Black men. So number 2, his January 6 pro-slavery, pro-Confederacy, racist insurrection, proving he's a racist. Number 3, in the mid-70s, he refused to rent property to Black people. And you know what's really telling about that? It was the Richard Nixon administration, through Richard Nixon's Justice Department, that filed a suit against Trump. So if a racist like Richard Nixon calls you a racist, you know what we say in the hood, game recognized game. Nixon went after Trump in the 70s for discriminating against Black people, not renting to them. That proves Dump is a racist. Number 4, he put out a full-page ad calling for the death penalty for 5 Black and brown kids in the so-called Central Park 5 attack. But these kids not only were legally not guilty, but they were factually innocent. They didn't prove it. Now, when I say they didn't prove, the prosecution didn't prove it, but more important, the prosecution not proving it, these kids didn't do it. How do we know they didn't do it? Because the real doer confessed to it while he was in prison on another charge. The DNA matched that real doer. So these 5 kids were innocent, but Donald Trump called for the death penalty. First of all, calling for the death penalty of children, even if they did the crime, is outrageous and horrendous, but they were innocent. And then after DNA proved that they were innocent, Trump never apologized to them. That's number 4 that proves that he's a racist. 4 among literally thousands. Finally, number 5, he promised to give police officers, white police officers, full immunity for brutalizing Black people. Right now, there's something in law called qualified immunity, where lawyers like me, we have to jump through hoops in order to be able to sue cops. You know, if your next door neighbor hits you by attacking you, you can just sue your next door neighbor. But if a cop attacks you, you got to jump through hurdles and jump through hoops in order to be legally able to sue that cop. It's called qualified immunity. Donald Trump said, to hell with qualified immunity. He's giving, quote, absolute immunity to cops for brutalizing Black people. All that proves is a racist. Now let me get to the classist part. Remember I said a classist is a wealthy person who actively promotes a system that exploits people based on lower income. That's a classist. And that's exactly what Donald Dump is. And you might want to know, well, why do I say that? Well, as a lawyer, we know you don't make statements. You got to back it up with proof. And I got 5 examples of clear, convincing, irrefutable proof that Dump is a classist. Number 1, he told his billionaire and multimillionaire friends who were donating to his campaign in 2024 in a leaked video, because it was privately and secretly recorded, so he never knew it was being recorded. It was held at Mar-a-Lago during a private meeting in 2023, and he told them, quote, "You're rich as hell, and I'm going to give you tax cuts." Think about that. A so-called billionaire, the study showed that he's not really a billionaire. He might have 600 million. That's still a lot of money. But a quasi-billionaire is telling other billionaires and multimillionaires he's going to give them a tax break at the expense of poor people. That's number one, proving he's a classist. By the way, folks, in about 4 or 5 minutes or so, we're going to have our second guest. And it's a perfect segue from this topic, Donald Dump and his billionaire cronies and what they're doing to exploit people of color, and the 76ers and their billionaire cronies and what they're doing or trying to do to exploit a community of color. And the key word there is trying, because there are a number of groups led by our Asian brothers and sisters who are fighting the good fight to make sure that those 76ers and their crony billionaires don't succeed in their attempt to exploit and destroy a cultural community of people of color. Remember I said I got 5 examples proving that Dump is a classist. One, when he told billionaires he was going to give them tax breaks, even though they're, quote, rich as hell. Number 2, his policies are going to require people who make as little as $47,150. Think about that. $47,150. That's less than $50,000. We're talking about people who make $47,150 yearly. Those people having their taxes increased. Let me repeat that because folks know exactly what I just said in number 1 and 2. He told billionaires at Mar-a-Lago in 2023, quote, "You're rich as hell, and I'm going to give you more tax breaks." Number 2, for people who make as little as $47,150 a year, their taxes go up. If that doesn't prove he's a classist, then nothing can ever prove it. Number 3, he's going to fire tens of thousands. Think about that. Tens of thousands of career civil servants in the federal government. Why? Because he doesn't like the way they do their job. He doesn't like the way they do what they're supposed to do in a democratically elected government. So what he's going to do, fire them and put in all those hillbillies from the trailer park to do his bidding. That's number 3. Number 4, he's going to slash overtime pay to federal workers. He's going to undermine union membership. And how do we know he's going to slash overtime pay to federal workers? How do we know that he's going to undermine labor union membership? Well, his Project 2025 says he's going to do that. That's number 4. And finally, number 5, he's going to repeal Obamacare. He's going to raise the price of prescription drugs, and he's going to gut Medicare and Medicaid. Think about that. He's going to repeal Obamacare. He's going to raise the price of prescription drugs. He's going to gut Medicare. He's going to gut Medicare. He also is going to do away with Social Security. How do we know all that? Because it's written down in this Project 2025. So this man is not only a racist, but he's also a classist. That's the bad news. The good news is that we have options. You know, I got to admit, and I'd be lying to you if I didn't admit it. On the evening of Election Day, November 5, I looked at some of the early returns. It had to be around 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And that early, it wasn't looking good. And then it went downhill from there. I purposely didn't watch the news later that night. I purposely didn't watch the news earlier that morning. When I finally got out of bed, because I must admit, depressed and devastated and demoralized, when I finally got out of bed, I checked my social media pages to see if what seemed to be happening on election night had actually happened. And yes, it did. A racist, rapist, fascist, insurrectionist, thug was elected president of the United States of America. And before we get to our guest, and we will do that in about 30 seconds, let me tell you what I posted on social media after this, because for me, it's what it's all about. And I'm not going to use the profanity that I put on my social media page. I'm going to use a little bit like what I guess PG-13. I'm not going to drop the F-bomb though. I'm going to tell you what I wrote, and we want to get to our guest in about 30 seconds. Shortly after the election, here's what I posted on my social media page. And it's a conversation between A and B. And here it goes. It says, Michael X, that's me, Michael X said to himself the day after the election, I'm beaten, I'm depressed, I'm useless. And then Nat Turner, Harriet Tubman, Gabriel Prosser, Sojourner Truth, John Brown, the 8,000 Black soldiers in the Revolutionary War, the 200,000 Black soldiers in the Civil War. They said to me 2 days after the election, if you don't get your bitch ass up and stop crying so you can start fighting again, we'll give you something to really cry about. My response to them was, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, reporting for duty now. And that's to say that although I was depressed and demoralized and defeated and beaten down, I had to remember what my parents went through. I had to remember what my grandparents went through. I had to remember what the civil rights workers went through. I had to remember what the anti-Jim Crow activists went through. I had to realize what the sharecroppers went through. I had to realize what my enslaved ancestors went through. And the stuff that they went through makes my little inconvenience about a presidential election pale in comparison. So they said to me, we got you here. And if you're going to lie in bed all day and cry about a damn election, then you're not the revolutionary we thought you were. So once I heard that from them, I got up and I continued the fight. And it's people like that who by fighting, who by resisting will win. And that takes me to, again, perfect segue. I just finished talking about the billionaire class through Donald Trump and what they plan to do for the next 4 years. And that goes directly to the point I'm making now about the billionaires trying to exploit a community of color. So I invited a number of folks on my radio show and on this show to come in and talk about what's really going on with the arena. And today I'm honored to introduce to you Mercedes Bonilla with an economic development firm here in Pennsylvania. She's a commercial real estate agent. Mercedes, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. And I'm going to turn it over to you because I stay in my lane. If there's somebody who's doing something and an expert in that field, I want them to talk about it. So tell us, what's this No Arena thing about and why should people care?
So the No Arena, not just movement, I want to start by the research and the research that many of the volunteers and people that are supporting this movement, what we have actually done from traffic report studies and dissecting different plans that were paid for by major companies and organizations in the Philadelphia and surrounding area, as well as dissecting and not picking apart, but making sure that we tried to understand everything that the city of Philadelphia has put before us. We're looking at a $50 million proposed community benefits agreement, which does not measure out over enough time to actually support those businesses, smaller businesses, Black and brown businesses, and or any business that is trying to do business with the 76th place. As we look right now, we see that there are a lot of articles that are going out that are detailing that the request now is in the upwards of $300 million, which should have been, and it should have been actually implemented and or discussed by our mayor and the Philadelphia mayor's team that is so graciously going out and educating communities now after it has been put before City Council of Philadelphia.
Before you continue, let me deal with the 10,000-pound elephant in the room. It seems to me that the supporters of the mayor are trying to play on the whole racial component. They're trying to make it seem like, hey, there are Black laborers and Black union workers, and they need to take care of their family, and these Asians don't care about Black people, and Black people need jobs. I wrote an article in the Tribune about that, bashing that concept, because that's a ploy that white supremacy has always used to divide the races. Well, I want to hear from you, Mercedes. What's your take on that? First of all, do you see where the powers that be try to cause a split? And if you see it, what's your response to it?
Absolutely. It is something that I have went against some of the powers to be in open forums in reference to it and some of the labor heads, because I also serve as one of the newer executive committee members of the NAACP for Philadelphia branch. So I have went against certain labor heads and actually the NAACP organization, asking, what does it look like for people to have living wage jobs? Now, we know I have helped in my individual capacity, as well as my firm has helped different nonprofit and for-profit organizations build workforce development programs. Some of the biggest names that you can name up and down 95. We have been a part of that and or implemented and developed workforce development plans. We know that workforce development is a certain period of time, and or when a building is being built. I just was talking to our team about this earlier, that it's a certain period of time. Now, if we see like stadiums now, or like our convention center, if it needs light fixtures fixed or something happens to the building, those people that might be that's in the union, they might fix it and have a short period of time fixing it, and or that contract might extend out until the end of time every year. And it just might be that only the trades actually have the ability to fix the project or building, but that is not a living wage. It's short term. What is the long-term plan? And that is something that we're asking. What does jobs look like for Black and brown, since we keep playing on Black and brown and only mentioning Black and brown, because there are other races and other colors and other people, other class of people. There are women-owned, there are disability-owned, there are veteran-owned businesses, and that's just in a diversity space, and we're not talking about them. I don't hear a successful plan kind of clearly highlighting them as much as Black and brown and or playing the race card has been done in this situation.
In your travels throughout the city, is the common Black person who you've encountered, I'm not talking about the movers and shakers, the powers that be, elected officials, I'm talking about the man or woman or boy or girl or person on the street who's Black. Does the Black community, as far as you know, they seem to be falling for this race baiting?
No, because one thing with the powers that be, we understand in order to build in this town, most things have to go through the labor union. So they already know that they're blackballed, even those that leave the labor union. And I'll say it, I was a benefits coordinator with one of our major unions here. So when the labor execs pull out their funding, or in the year that they don't work underneath the union, or keep their name on that union list when there are no jobs, they have to keep calling in every week to make sure that they get their benefits. How do I know? How you doing? Local 98.
I love it.
When you look at those people that pull out that funding, they know as soon as I'm not with the labor union no more, I don't get calls for those jobs. Or if I start my own firm, my own company, I want to start doing contracts, but I know that I have to do everything that is not union. So they're automatically, the union part, or the worker or the laborer is already out. That's just a laborer that might have got educated and not necessarily falling underneath the union. Let's take all those Black and browns out if they're not union. Take them out. 2, I talked about this earlier. There is a company, a young lady that has a beverage. People don't know that when it comes to certain, and I can speak for Coca-Cola, meaning that they are a past client of mine, so I can speak about contracts that I'm actually a part of. On my contracts, which are 90% of Coca-Cola contracts, when they are in America's favorite drink, or one of the drinks that are in most of the stadiums and or arenas or amusement parks, or Pepsi, let's say, as well, the bigger commercial companies that actually have beverage and or food products, their contracts read they will not allow another beverage or food organization or company. So my question is to the 76th place and or to anyone that is in the food and beverage industry, well, how does that look when a small business that has a drink or food product, how
Mm,
do they actually get into a place where only commercial bigger companies that are in, and people think big is $1 million. No, I'm talking about nearly $500 million or better.
mm,
How do they compete with that? And or it are the contracts that are you not going to have Coca-Cola products or Pepsi products? Or are the
mm.
contracts now and all of a sudden in the 10% for 76th place, are they actually going to allow for smaller companies that have beverages or food to come in?
Great point. And I'm so glad you're breaking it down like that. Those of you just tuned in, you're listening to Mercedes Bonilla, the CEO of Leverage Economic Solutions, giving us some important information about 76th place. We have about 4 or 5 minutes left, Mercedes. This is what I want to ask you. As a Black person and successful person, why do you care about this? Why is this important to you personally?
Very good question. It is important to me because, again, I think that the race card is used enough. I also think that using communities that actually don't understand community benefits agreements and or understand the contracting that goes with this and or the private backdoor and or on table negotiations, I think that they do not have the knowledge and it becomes a
Mm.
form of taking advantage of them. We are ignorant, i.e., we lack knowledge until we're told. What
Not
I'm
stupid, just ignorant.
We're ignorant. And
Exactly.
I'm saying we as a body of people, some of us are ignorant because we're not told. We're not brought to the table. We're not broken down these things. We're yelled at when we go to these to these meetings that are out in public now, and people are not able to ask their questions and get a respectful answer. You might allow them to ask the question, but they're not getting that
Mhm.
respectful answer. Why do I care? Because I think that our people are taking advantage enough. And I say our people, I say not just because you broke it down, especially as being a business owner, being a what you can call a small business owner. I'm a woman-owned certified federally business-owned company. So these things I've watched so many people and what I do so it's clear economic development is everything around us. Everything that you see that we touch is economic development. So what I also do is make sure other businesses can get into spaces, and I make
Mhm.
sure that they understand municipalities, government, make sure that they understand how contracts are read. So I'm not just speaking from, oh, she's far away. No, I'm right there the whole time. So what I see the problem and why I'm here and why I'm here now, especially publicly, because I've been behind the scenes for now 2 years. I've had people tell me,
Mhm.
"Oh, well, this has been going on for 2 years." Well, how you doing? I've been here. Hi. I'll make sure
I
that you
love
see it when we play it back. I
it.
care because we cannot continue to take advantage of communities that are impoverished and then say, okay, well, they weren't a part of the plan. You had the opportunity and they did not. And on this show today, on December 6th of 2024, a lot of these businesses, a lot of the small businesses, a lot of our people, a lot of the people in middle class communities, they are not having the opportunity to be at the table and or make decisions that effectively affect them, their children that are in the schools that these people, their children will not go to school with. They are not at the table.
Those of you who are listening to the voice of Mercedes Bonilla, the CEO of Leverage Economic Solutions, explaining why she strongly opposes 76th place. Mercedes, we have about 2 minutes left. In our final 2 minutes, one, is there a place that folks can go to get more information, a website, a social media page, a QR code, whatever? How can folks get more information?
Yeah, so we have a number of coalitions and groups. So, of course, you have No Arena in Chinatown. Definitely join Facebook because our Facebook group, because you'll get active and like right now in your face information, as well as No Arena PHL.org. Again, NOARENA PHL And if you want to send any emails, you also can send those emails to noarenaInChinatown@gmail.com.
Thank you for that. And Mercedes, we got about a minute and a half left, 90 seconds. And this is the TV courtroom show. And in many courtroom proceedings, there's a chance for a closing argument. So we're going to give you a closing argument, 90 seconds. Anything you want to add, repeat, highlight, the clock begins now.
Well, being an MBA candidate and soon to be law school candidate, again, no arena in Chinatown. Market East cannot suffer any more than it has, and that it will. We see Wawa, another Wawa was just closed in the downtown area. We also just saw, after giving testimony on 11/20 of 2024, where a car accident happened and it shut down our streets. We're seeing it in a live time. In this live time, we're going to say no right now, no again and again. And we're hoping for a better community benefits agreement for respect for the people of Chinatown as well as Market East.
Powerful, powerful closing argument. We appreciate you spending time. I'm going to reach out to you, Mercedes, because in addition to this TV courtroom show, I do a radio courtroom show. I'd like to have you on the radio show because I love your passion, but most important, your expertise in this field. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend.
You as well.
Great stuff from Mercedes Bonilla. And it's now about 2 minutes left. So in those final 2 minutes, let me just say this, folks. You got to get more information. Go to noarenaphl.org. That's noarenaphl.org. In addition, I encourage folks to read an article that I wrote in the Philadelphia Tribune. Just go to phillytrib.com. That's phillytrib.com. And once you go to that phillytrib.com website, check out an article that I wrote, published back on October 2nd. It's entitled, Billionaires, Race Baiters Try to Undermine Unity Among Black and Asian Opponents of 76th Place. Let me repeat that. Billionaires and race baiters try to undermine unity among Black and Asian opponents of 76th Place. And you heard me talk repeatedly about Malcolm X. Well, Malcolm X, he spoke strongly in support of our Asian brothers and sisters. And that article in the Tribune, it breaks down one of his allies, one of his colleagues, an Asian sister who worked well with Malcolm. So if Brother Malcolm and the Asian community were moving forward together, certainly the Black community of Philadelphia and the Asian community ought to come together to not just protect that culturally important Chinatown community, but to build allies so that when white supremacists come after our neighborhoods in the hood, our Asian brothers and sisters will stand shoulder to shoulder with us as we are now standing shoulder and shoulder to them. In addition to checking out that article in the Philadelphia Tribune, just go to, as our producer / engineer extraordinaire Roland showed you, go to phillytrib.com, type in Cord, all these articles will come up. And 2 final things I'll say before we wrap these up. 1, I'm gonna make sure you check out my radio courtroom show every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. Radio courtroom show, WRD 96.1 FM, every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. And I'm going to end this show like I end every show. It goes like this. Think Black, I'm out.